members. This was something that staff brought to PEC because the previous version in the governance manual was quite outdated. It didn't take into account the new system for delivering emails to families and community members. It was very repetitive. So we worked with Eileen to streamline this and to make it more easier for our staff to follow and for the board to follow. So a lot of these changes are very much just streamlining changes and bringing material that was in other sections of the section and inserting them in. So I would just like board members to look at this very briefly on their own and let us know if they have any comments. Ms. Corbett-Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. McElveen. I think this was an important thing for PEC to undertake because newsletters are the primary vehicle in which we as board members can reach a large proportion of our constituency. I think for the most part, you've done an excellent job. I'm glad you actually put in the language reminding people about campaign restrictions and content on advocating election-related materials. The one area that I do continue to have concern, I've mentioned this to you before, is regarding the repeating content that is already being sent from schools or from the school district. Over 70% of our electoral body do not have kids in our schools. However, many of the people who do not have kids in our schools actually sign up for the elected members of the school board's newsletters to know what's going on, to keep in touch with our schools. And so it's actually an excellent vehicle for repeating some of the content that is already being sent from our schools or from the school district to be consolidated there. And it's really, it doesn't cost anything. So I would suggest... Which is the
section that you want to...
Paragraph 6 is the only one that I have any concerns over, and it really is one that takes into account that people that read our newsletters are not necessarily receiving a newsletter or a keep in touch message from a school or from a regional office.
So your suggestion would be to strike that, right?
Yes,
Number
please.
6. Okay. Next, Elizabeth and Pat.
Actually, mine, I'd like to piggyback. I think Karen's on this. We've always struggled with this, and frankly, I think part of it is the at-larges. We struggle because if you send something out and we send something out, then people get the same message twice. However, people are busy. People are really, really busy, and sometimes they have to see something several times, or they may miss it. The first time they didn't open it the first time, and then they're like, "Oh wait, what is this?" And I'm a fan of, if you don't like something, you can hit the delete button. You can unregister yourself, and I would be more inclined to message for somebody to see something 2 or 3 times than for a bunch of people not to see it at all. I'd rather have something, just a very generic, like self-governing model that says, something like, please be mindful of, or, should circumstances present that are causing this, please, go back and review, as opposed to dictating to us. And I say that as somebody who rarely sends one out, so that when I do, sort of like E.F. Hutton, I really want them to read it.
Okay. Pat?
Yeah, so my only question, I hear you on number 6, because I think for some people what you're saying is this would be the first time and only time they might hear it, right? And that is an opportunity. So I think, I guess I could, the problem though is, of course, then there will be some people who are seeing things multiple times, and then we're kind of hitting them over the head, and people get frustrated with that. I also am perfectly happy to delete, but there are people who get angry about getting the same stuff over and over again. So, but along the lines of, not being too prescriptive, what if we changed it to something like be mindful of messages that have already been sent out, rather than, does that help a little bit? It's just a reminder, because I might need that reminder as a new board member, is all I'm saying. But I'm asking Karen because it was her idea to start with, if you have any thoughts.
I think be mindful or be cognizant that content may have already been sent is fine. It's just that the prescriptive method, especially, I mean, got to tell you, I've got a whole mess of octogenarians that read my newsletter and love it.
Okay, Megan, Dahlia?
So I guess I'm looking at the whole thing, and it's really dense. And I think the one that worried me the most is looking at number 4, where it's saying things like, to ensure the public's understanding of the separation between the official school board communications and the individual board members, the web visitor will see a redirect page after clicking on the newsletter, which will then say you're now leaving the official school board website of the Fairfax County Public Schools and going to the, I mean, where are you going to? I mean, where's that newsletter hosted then if you're leaving? Huh? Yeah, but that's saying school board, saying you're leaving the school board website. And where are you going? I know, but my point is, since we're all sitting around the table and we're having a chance to look at this document, you can ask our opinions on what's in red, but I'm actually commenting on what's in the black and white.
Eileen, did you want to come? Okay, it's the glove and delivery side, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it's interesting because what I remember was if someone goes and clicks on me as a school board member, and then they'll see that there's a section that says newsletters, and they'll click on my newsletter. And then as I understood it, they clicked on it and the newsletter opened up. Not that they were suddenly going to you're now leaving this page and now you're going to, like, who, if that's what's going on, my point is, who decided that and when? Because I certainly didn't see that's how it's being done. And right, but I so appreciate this. I'm not talking about the language. I'm talking about the actual process. Like, who decided to suddenly make it so complicated to just click on a school board member's newsletter just to read it?
Right. It may have been at the beginning, like I'm recalling information from when Heck
Matt's
was
predecessor?
Yeah, prior to that, and it may just be leftover language. But I think we should, Eileen, I think we should check to see if that does happen. If it doesn't happen any longer, we don't need it to happen.
Right.
Then, but
Yeah.
it's my understanding that's the way it used to be because of that separation,
Okay.
to make people understand. It's not the school system. it's the
So,
school
and
board.
then not to get ahead of things, Mr. McElveen, but so after number 8, is there gonna be another section we're looking at? Or that's just it right there?
Yes, there is. No, there are multiple pages to this.
Okay, so we're
A
gonna
lot
be,
of that is deletion.
all right, but right now we're just focusing on this first page for comment, right?
Sure.
Okay, so I guess I'm fine with everybody else where it's more of a mindful thing because we're going to pay the price if we're not mindful. We're either going to have complaining emails come into the superintendent saying that school board member's driving me crazy and I want your help. And as politically elected officials, I am hard pressed to believe that any of us are going to do things to irritate our constituents. So I like the work you guys have done, which is it's guidance, but without dictating to 12 individual people what they can and can't do to communicate with their communities.
Okay, thanks, Megan. Dahlia?
Yeah, sorry. I was looking at number 6 again, and while be mindful is nice language, I like the word limit, although I see you also use that in number 7. So I sometimes resend things because I think it's important to see it 3 or 4, sometimes 6 times, but just reminding us to limit the amount of times we do that would be helpful. So,
Sandy?
yeah.
Sorry. Just a quick question on number 5. Is that to say that we are prohibited here from even sending something out saying that there is an election?
No, because that's factual, right?
Well, I just think we need to clarify that one way or the other. If we're prohibiting ourselves from even saying there's an election, go vote. To me, that's what that says right now. It says must not contain election campaign information.
Yeah, yes.
I'm fine going either way. I just think we need to clarify.
Sure, we'll get legal guidance on that.
On whether it prohibits us
Right,
from just factually saying there's an election. So let's clarify that if we could. And I think the language probably needs to be clarified too once we get that.
Okay, can I get a sense of the board on number 6, adding please be mindful to avoid repeating content that is already being sent? Or something like that. Be mindful, yeah, that's what I said, yeah. Correct. We aren't there yet. We're on 6. Okay, so Karen, say the language you want to use. Please be mindful to.
Please be mindful.
Mr. McElveen, may I ask a question? Or maybe offer a suggestion? This is just fun when you're in different places, different boards. Our actual board norms were the other way. We wanted board members putting out through their networks the stuff. So it's kind of interesting to watch here is about, but I came from an appointed board to an elected board. So maybe that's part of why the dynamic, having these best practices here, I think are great. I just wonder whether it's something among board members that.
It's driven by the fact that we have at-large and district partially, and that in the past
right.
there's been repetition. In recent years,
See.
it hasn't.
I didn't think of that piece.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Eileen, did you get that language? Okay. All those in favor of Karen's language, there for please avoid. Please be mindful of repetition. Yeah. Okay. Okay, the other issue we had was getting legal guidance on the election piece. Those in favor of that, and then specify.
On just getting guidance.
Yeah. 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 Okay, and then Megan's advocacy on that longer number 4 piece. Megan, are you advocating that we eliminate that or narrow it down? Can we scroll up to number 4? Okay, got it. Okay. Eileen, you got that? All those in favor of having staff verifying that that's the correct practice? Okay. Good to go. Okay, let's now move down to the next page. A lot of this is really instructive for EAAs about the process for creating the newsletter. Can we scroll down a little more as well? So some of this is removing repetitive language. Are there any concerns with this? Dahlia?
My only question is, do we want to give guidance? And I've had that question about like time frame, like don't send it in the morning expecting it'll go through all review by the evening. Like
that timeline piece is in there, is it
Is
not?
it?
Eileen? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
did I
so,
miss that?
yeah.
Okay, it was further up.
Elizabeth?
Yeah, I would not use gov delivery specifically because it's possible that could change in the future. I would say through, an electronic delivery template.
Okay.
Because what you want is it to be generic and fungible
Sure.
to be responsive to future changes.
Eileen, you got that? Okay, any other concerns? Questions? Okay, can we scroll down, Lisa? See if there's anything else. This is all deletions. Yep, the rest is just deletion. Yes, okay. So that is that piece, and we'll add in Elizabeth's advocacy on that last one. Okay, so that is all on the newsletter piece. Eileen will go ahead and make those revisions, and then we'll get that incorporated. Let's go to agenda item number 2, which is on the Education Summit. Teresa, I guess. Yeah, Marianne. Okay, so this next piece has come back and forth from PEC to the board, and now it's back again with the board. We had originally said we were going to do away with the Education Summit due to resource constraints, but we now have a new superintendent, and one of the in recent memory, one of the most beneficial pieces of the Education Summit is using that as a venue to highlight the new superintendent. And obviously we haven't had a chance really to sit down with Scott, but that will certainly occur in the coming months. But in looking at the calendar, Matt's office flagged for us that on the 21st of October, we already have our Mental Health and Wellness Summit on the calendar. We have a venue for that. The venue is... Teresa?
Fairfax High School.
Fairfax High School. And so we were thinking, why not just combine these in the sense of using the same venue, getting people out to the same place, but at the same time keeping them as distinct things. So the way PEC has been contemplating this to date is doing a morning piece where Scott could be introduced and potentially take questions, and then having the separate mental health and wellness piece just follow on after that. So we can really just take advantage of the synergies that brings. Are there, and obviously a lot of the agenda and everything is yet to be formulated, but PEC wanted to bring this to the board to see if anyone had concerns with combining those two in that manner. Megan?
So I certainly support trying to, streamline this and the opportunity for the community to come out and, have that dialogue with Dr. Braybrand, I think is very important. So I would be supportive of doing it this way. I think the Mental Health and Wellness Conference in the past, as I understand it, has been very well attended. And so if we're still finding that to be the case, then I'm supportive of it. I guess I'm all about timing. So one of the things I worry about sometimes is we start too early in the morning, and I think families, it's a Saturday, and they just say, I've been getting up early every day, Monday through Friday. I'm not getting up early at 8:30 in the morning. So I guess from a timing standpoint, more so, I guess I was just thinking of if come meet the new superintendent is at 10 or something, and the Q&A, then there's a break for lunch, and then you have the sessions from there. I'm not wed to the total timeline, but I'm looking for something that sort of...
Sure, yeah, and that's something PEC has discussed. Elizabeth, do you want to?
Yeah, actually, that's part of what I brought up, because I usually go to the special ed conference, and usually, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's usually an initial session that sort of gets underway, and you would be amazed. Like, they fill up a parking lot at 7:30 in the morning. I mean, it's unbelievable. But there's that first session, and then there's the sort of the opening session. Is that correct?
So we've been working on it for several months now, and currently have drafted an agenda without knowing about this, that opened at 8. There was a session and left like sort of from 8 to 9 for registration and going to tables and doing that kind of thing, from 9 to 10 roughly. an early bird session, if you will, from 10 to 11:15. The mental health wellness keynote speaker, who we've already contracted with, and then 2 more sort of breakout sessions after the keynote speaker. We had built in, because of feedback from people from the last time, sort of longer periods between sessions so people could go to more tables and have more time to transition and not be lost in the high school. So if we wanted to somehow differentiate the sessions and have, sort of start with the superintendent, I don't see how we can simultaneously do that, honor people's time. I mean, we have currently scheduled from kind of like 8 to 2 or 8 to 1:30, somewhere in that time frame. So, we certainly, and we had spoken a little bit to communications about, how can we shift around a little bit? And certainly there is time. We sort of had already said, well, we've spoken to the keynote speaker that we were going to work with, sort of said to him, maybe we will have a shorter amount of time for you to speak, 45 or 50 minutes versus an hour. And then he has agreed to then stay and do a breakout session following. But I don't know, we were talking to him all morning times. I don't know what his availability is in terms of.
I just want to clarify. So there's an opening session, then there's a registration, get around the tables for an hour.
What we were doing was doing the
Right.
8 to 9,
So-
go to the tables,
so-
then do a sort of early bird breakout session, and then at 10 o'clock start the.
Right. So, and Dr. Brabrand, I know you're shy
No,
and wallflowerish,
I can solve this one.
but and you're loquacious at the same time. But wouldn't a 15? We're not
Listen,
talking an hour.
Here's a couple things. One quick one is I don't have a problem with this being one of the rotations after the keynote speaker for workshops. By October, I'm going to have met half the county anyway. So those who haven't met me yet can come to one of the workshop rotations, or they can go to one of the other workshops just as a follow-up. That doesn't bother me at all. Or 10 minutes of just a general session, I can do that. I can do a 5-minute hi everybody, and I'll be at one of the workshops later if you'd like a little bit more. I could do a 5-minute or 10-minute just overview, and then if you want one-on-one time, I'll be in one of the workshop sessions.
I wonder about doing somewhere in the middle, a 20-minute kind of a 20-minute kind of setting vision or whatever, and then be available during the work session?
Brown bag with Brabrand, 3 Bs.
Instead of trying to figure out the timing piece here, we were contemplating having Peck look at this in more detail with everyone and work it out. But I think there's the sentiment there that we want to work with both schedules. Yeah. Okay. I had Karen.
I think you summed it up. We're going to let Peck solve this problem.
Right. Okay. Any other comments on the content or anything like that? Tammy.
I thought we discussed this morning there would be additional content, but now Mary Ann's telling us the content is full. So I'm missing the.
I'm actually not saying that the content is full. The last communication my team had with communications was that there would be breakout sessions that would be coming from the Education Summit. That would be part of, in other words, you can go to this breakout session or that breakout session or another, that we would have shared space in terms of exhibit space, and that the question was simply how much time or what was the structure of the superintendents. So, but that was, again, I'm getting it kind of, but certainly there is room, and there are rooms available, and there is space within any of the sort of 3 breakout sessions that we had planned to have sessions on a variety of topics. Those are not all scheduled. If we wanted to do it so that there was one conference and then another conference following, we would just need to know that, because we're sort of midstream in getting speakers and stuff.
Yeah.
So Tammy, is it okay to continue this conversation in PEC and how we're going
Well, yeah, but I think we need somebody from Marianne's shop. We need somebody from Teresa or Marianne. We need one of you there because, I think the educational summits in the past that have worked well really did talk about special educational needs of children. So I think there can be a lot of, melding of information and topics so I don't think it almost needs to be billed as two different things because that gets too convoluted. I think Dr. Braban should be highlighted because that will be our first countywide conference. Even if he has met everybody, they'll be happy to meet him again. And I think trying to and I'm just going to take that advocacy to PEC when I sit in there the next time, that if one of you two ladies can be there, that'll be helpful. And then I'll bring in everybody on the committee, Elizabeth, Ryan, and whoever else is on the committee, Pat. Right. I'm trying to remember who else. We can bring ideas. You're on there too, in conjunction with what you've already planned. But I think that will be helpful, and that way we'll get the most robust programming we can.
Okay, I have two more, Megan and Dahlia.
So I would just say that in echoing what Tammy said, Dr. Brabrand certainly has spoken eloquently about the whole child. So I like the idea that wherever we kind of blend him in, whether it's a brown bag with Brabrand sort of thing, but I think it actually would go beautifully with a mental health conference. That here's a superintendent who's spoken so much about how we can create a healthy learning environment for kids. So what could be a better way to introduce you to those who haven't had a chance to spend time with you yet. So I really apologize. I didn't realize how much this had been all framed out. So I hope my earlier comments about timing and everything didn't send a panic through your blood veins of, oh my God, she's going to recommend deconstructing our whole schedule.
Okay, Dahlia?
Quick question. I don't remember. Do we offer simultaneous interpretation for this?
We have, as part of the registration, people can make a request for that. We do offer it, but we have not had very many people take us up on it.
Okay. Because my other thing would be if we can borrow him for a second session, Café con Dr. Scott. Okay. Okay.
Okay, and with that, this work session is adjourned. Thank you.